Welcome back to Mecha March Madness. Say what you want about Sonic Superstars, but despite everything going against the game, it did give us a bunch of robots thanks to the Cyberstation boss fight, and more specifically, that Mecha multiplayer mode that we all just love so much. Not only did they give us back some classic medals, but we got some brand new bots based on classic characters and some brand new robots in general. We have talked about a few of them already, and while I'm sure I could ramble on for the more obscure ones and do that for a while to stretch things out, the fact of the matter is a lot of this stuff just doesn't justify a video all on their own. So instead, we're going to talk about every single robo-double found in Sonic Superstars, and on top of that, we're also going to talk about all the obscure decorations you can put onto your character in the multiplayer and try to explain away in game canon. And last but not least, we also need to talk about the robot behind all of these mixing and matching pieces, the prototype, because there's more going on there than you might initially think. But let's kick things off by getting some obvious robot clones out of the way. Eggman, of course, has his egg robos and a new giant egg mech, this time with a samurai theme. So if you want to count those as robot clones, there you go. But there's another returning villain with a very unique robot. Fang has finally returned to the series in Sonic Superstars, and this weasel wolf Jerboa means business. Every one of his boss encounters is a headache, but none more so than his final fight in Trip's campaign, where we're introduced to his Fang mecha. No, not Mecha Fang and not Metal Fang. The bounty hunter gets a genuine mecha that he himself pilots. We have it teased all throughout an earlier boss battle that sucks, where Trip's dragon form is revealed and takes it out before it becomes a problem. But the mecha does return as the final challenge for the Sun Gazer, and as a cool little extra detail, Fang makes sure you can't battle in your dragon form before this fight if you attempt to go super going into it. The mecha itself gives me some major Mega Man X design vibes with the oversized arms and booties, but clearly it's designed to look like a beefed up Fang. And it does put up a nasty fight, shooting off bouncing bombs and badniks, and later Fang will shoot off a cork that obviously is a giant version of his little pop gun. So yeah, I guess I can understand why he uses these things if it can kill you in one shot, but you have to wonder what kind of bottles were those corks made for. But yeah, there you go, Fang gets a pretty cool robot. And everybody else in this game gets a robot double as well, but the rest all revolve around the prototype. This unassuming little guy might not seem like much of a problem. For all the robots Eggman has put together, this one is about as bland as it gets, but they do get a lot of attention as we see these suckers all over the place in a makeshift workshop in Sky Temple, teasing us with something Eggman is cooking up. And that all pays off in the Cyberstation boss battle, where we take on the prototypes and see the many functions they serve. They have physical abilities like launching themselves at player characters, but they can also pilot Eggmobiles and grow to a giant size. Or maybe Eggy just has a giant one on standby. Whatever the case, this is an incredibly versatile little robot, and Eggman has a whole lot of them. And it's kind of rad that we see them incorporated into the campaign because these dudes were clearly designed for the multiplayer mode. But I can't help but wonder if there are more interesting implications with this robot. I think we see clues in the campaign, but I think we see some more in the multiplayer. See, in that mode, you can play and compete with different customizable robots. You can take the form of more iconic robo-doubles, some new designs, or mix them up as you see fit. You'll have to unlock all these pieces in-game and then buy them with medals. You can also earn in-game or through multiplayer matches. It's a really good idea executed very poorly. But this is not a game review. We already rambled on about all this stuff for well over an hour. You can go check out that video. But the overall execution of this idea aside, they put a great amount of detail into the customization menus, showing it off like an Eggman garage. You can snag up multiple prototypes and design them to your heart's content. This obviously serves the gameplay before it serves any particular bit of lore, but still, I can't help but wonder if this prototype serves as the basis for every robot copy we have ever seen in the series. What if this isn't just a quick copy of Metal Sonic? What if this prototype always existed under those crescent-shaped quills? That would justify why we got the Mecha Sonic line after Metal Sonic. And we do have Mecha Sonic Mark 1 as DLC for this mode. What if it's just a prototype with a different suit multitude of armor. Maybe Metal Knuckles, Metal Sonic, and Mecha Sonic have always been the same robot under all of their armor. We have seen just how versatile this robot can be after all. If Eggman just has them coming off the factory line, it's a very real possibility. But hey, as much as I love all these different robot copies, I would be pretty bummed if Metal Sonic wasn't a little more unique compared to other Eggman creations. And sure, we've had to confirm, thanks to Sonic Mania, that there have been at least 2 Metal Sonics that have been destroyed prior to the one we face off in that game, but, well, wait a minute. Metal Sonic does attach himself to a machine that spits out little mini Mecha Sonics. What if the prototype and the Mecha line is just a fast and easy attempt to replicate the very best robot Eggman has ever created? Maybe Metal Sonic was a unique creation, and Eggman is now just trying to figure out a way to mass produce it. I'm sure they didn't plot anything deeper than just making a fun idea for the multiplayer mode, but it is fun to think about. And with that line of thinking, let's also assume that all the variations available to the prototype also exist in the game canon. Let's roll through the different designs and try to justify them best we can. As I've made very clear in about 4 or 5 videos up to this point, I was very excited to see the return of some classic faces, which include Metal Sonic, of course. And if you have the DLC on hand, you can also get a Mecha Sonic Mark 1 skin. We also see the return of Metal Knuckles, and while they're not a part of the multiplayer, we also need to shout out the return of Egg Robo once again and the Tails doll. It's a Sonic R reunion. A Sonic R? Sonic R and R? Sonic R. Not only that, we also get the very first appearance of Metal Tails and Metal Amy. I have either spoken about all these robots to death or plan to do so in the future. Even then, I probably will mention them many more times on this channel. Please subscribe to watch the slow unraveling of my sanity. Point is, we got a lot more to talk about for these robots, and we've already spent a lot of time on these designs, so let's keep going. The same game that introduces us to Trip the Sun Gazer also introduces us to Metal Trip. I don't think I've ever seen a faster turnaround for a character getting a robot copy. Now, while I fully intend to examine this lizard a little more and would genuinely love to see her and her robo-double in more stuff going forward, unfortunately, if you've seen the other Metal vids, you know this song and dance. Right now, there just isn't much to say about Metal Trip on its own outside of the design. So let's see what we can glean from that. I'd have to say that Metal Trip is a much closer match to the original when compared to every other Metal copy we've seen so far. That's likely because these two characters were created in tandem, but if you want something justified within the fiction, well, Trip is already covered in armor, so it only makes sense for the robot to emulate that with its own armor. Just Metal Trip's a bit spikier, and it's also safe to assume that it probably has similar wall rolling abilities. I doubt Metal Trip can turn into a dragon, but hey, that'd be pretty sweet if it could. But hey, it can also be equipped with a giant metal helmet that Trip herself uses, so hey, that's kinda cool. But that's not all we get. Sonic Superstars continues its long tradition of Sonic games doing their best to remind people that Knights was once a thing. And I'm glad that Sonic team's still proud of it, just wish they were proud enough to make a brand new Knights game. Anyway, the Purple Jester gets a robot copy all their own. I wouldn't say it's quite as unique compared to other Metals, but unlike the other Robo-Doubles, Metal Knights serves as a cameo for Knights itself as a whole. So it would make more sense for this robot to more closely resemble the being it's meant to copy than, say, Metal Sonic does when compared to the original Sonic. Still, Metal Knights has some unique characteristics. Outside of it being, well, a robot, it is also much shorter than the actual Dream Jester. So I guess this is almost a representation of classic Knights? Maybe a modern Metal Knights would show up with the Wii costume. Regardless, I love Metals and I love Knights, so obviously I love Metal Knights. This was a lovely little inclusion, albeit a challenging one to obtain. You need to collect all the rings in one of those rotating bonus stages to unlock this bot in your garage. Just keep in mind those stages grow more and more complex as they roll through, so just collect the rings from the very first and easiest of the variants. Interestingly enough, this is not actually the very first time we got a robotic double of Knights, as fans discovered a Mecha Knights model and sprites in the game files for both the Sega Saturn and PS2 versions of Knights into Dreams. Apparently, this was meant to be a remote-controlled toy to be played with by Knightopians. Nobody knows why it was cut from the final game. I mean, it is in the original and PS2 versions after all. And I gotta say, I'm pretty disappointed they didn't use this. I really like this design and the unique red coloration for it. I hope they use this in some sort of capacity someday. Now, as for why Eggman would even build a robot double of Knights, well, I think Digivalentine had the best idea for it. Knights is a creature that exists in dreams. Who's to say that Eggman didn't come across the gesture while he was snoozing away? Maybe Eggy woke up inspired, wanting to capture the magic and power of Knights for himself, and in turn, created this robot. I mean, we do have Sonic Into Dreams, which features an Eggman boss fight, and thanks to Sonic Dream Team, we do know that dreams are a tangible reality in the world of Sonic, and don't even get me started on Cosmo or the characters from Sonic Shuffle. We have so many little things that connect these two darling properties of Sonic Team. A Metal Knights only makes sense. And also shout out to Digivalentine, the go-to channel for all things Knights related. Go check that channel out. But the references to Sega history doesn't stop there, because we also have a Mecha Rabbit. That might not seem like a big deal, but this is clearly a robotic version of Feels the Rabbit, or just Rabbit as it's known in the game. Not only do we have prototype robots, they also made a prototype Sonic playable in this game. Now you can argue whether or not Feels is actually canon to the series. I suppose you could be boring if you feel like it, but I'm gonna say he does exist in this universe. There are plenty of bunnies in this world of Sonic, and some cause Eggman quite the headache. And if there was a bunny that was as zippy as a certain blue hedgehog, it would only make sense for Eggman to create a robot rabbit. I do also wonder if the Mecha Wolf is a nod to one of Fang's many potential species. He was considered half wolf and half jerboa before. And the Mecha Bear, well, bears are tough critters. Sure, why not make a robot? I don't think it's meant to be like a robot double of Bark, but I don't know, that would have been cool. I'm pretty sure you could be a bear in Sonic Forces. The pumpkin and clown, well, they're probably leftovers from Eggman's Pinball Carnival. Honestly, as much as this guy loves this aesthetic, I'm surprised he hasn't utilized these things before. But it makes you wonder if clowns are their own species in the world of Sonic. Kind of creepy if you think about it. The item box is probably just a fun little extra accessory for players like the chimney, halo, or emergency light, but this might also finally confirm that it's Eggman himself who creates these monitors we see sprinkled around the classic games. I mean, he could also maybe just be collecting these monitors and using them as a source of power. I don't know. But I think it's a little more likely that Eggy himself is responsible for these things, and I've joked about it in other videos, but I honestly would love some item box lore. The Mad Fighter, Knight, and Warrior, yeah, I would love to spin a wild little tale on why Eggman landed on these certain designs, but I do think these are actual generic placeholders, even in the canon of Sonic. A little more armored, some even equipped with weapons that you'd find on his personal Eggmobiles. It's possible that he's just using these dudes to see how well they fare against the robot copies he's created, and testing out certain tools that he himself could use in the field. It would make sense that Eggman would test run the stuff before he used them hands-on. I mean, the multiplayer sets all this up like Eggman running field tests anyway. Even if it's not that deep and shouldn't be taken that seriously, I do appreciate this extra effort of trying to justify this mode of the game. They could have just used the main game characters, but they specifically chose to use robots, something that Eggman did with his Sonic androids in Sonic Colors. Just that extra little bit of world building warms my cold, dead heart. I also love the fact that they have spray cans clearly labeled yellow and orange, and guess what, bitch, Tails ain't yellow, even if his robot is. Oh, well. The point is, yeah, Superstars does get a lot of flack, and the multiplayer mode is very much lacking, but certainly not in the aesthetic. We really needed a little more story told to us in this game, but there is still story to be told all the same. And if they played their cards right, who knows? You could build up something really cool from these robots. I know everyone is sick and tired of all the robots we got from Prime and Superstars, but I'm sorry guys, I had a really good year enjoying all of these robots. And hey, even if this game or that show wasn't your cup of tea, I hope you got some fun out of it as well. But for now, that's all I gotta say about the robots of Sonic Superstars. But before I go, I want to give a big shout out to everyone who supports me on Patreon. You can see their names scrolling across the screen if you would like to join them. It only costs you $1 and you get Discord access, and when I can manage it, early videos. I'll get some more fun stuff in there. Sorry, life's been a little bit crazy as of late. But hey, I want to give an extra special shout out to these fine folks here. Kyle Winter, Cyrus the Skeptic, Joseph Duncan Sonic 2 Blue, Jaws Strider, Mecha Monroe, Trey Nobles, Hatsworth, Tiny Jericho, Ginger Bob, Jack of All Spades, Tristan Trapp, Meekers, Dun Dun, Quote Joe, Resident Fanboy, Miles the Prower, Singer J199. I gotta say, since you changed up your name, it completely throws off my flow. I'm so used to saying Jeremy Singer. But you do you. Thank you for the contribution. I'll get the hang of it. Sam Webster, Fish Flop, Lucas Lipker, The Bad Pal, Jonathan Dobbs, Chad. SP can't come to the phone right now. Please leave a message after the beep. Beep. Cecil the Glade, The Dark Neon, Stefan Plakanica, 3 Monic, Graham J. Hall, Lenny X, Wayne is Boss, Lederick, David 20 Covers, and remember, CG Forever. Kaylee Ann Williams, The Lumberjack, Trash Baphomet, Enerjack 5, Grayson Conager, Xerxes, The Renegade Jin, Ken K of Warheads, Ven 101, Paxton Bisbee, Sindarin 7, Small Bunby excited to see the buds on the trees. Twilord, I've bought the entire helium supply, have fun blowing up balloons now. Eric Delgado, Crimson Rose, Munishint, Roxas the Cat, Godzilla, Makuta of Salt, Gleam the Anomaly, Alexander Watson, Neil Gampa, Conan Kudo, Tenric Terror, the Lex the most powerful ship in the 2 universes, Native Nerd 27, Kaido Prower, Spearmint, Duo the Cat, Omega Man 21, Penn Adelaide, Jamie Torres Jr., Daza S, the world's most unironic 8.5 tail stand, one more Sonic robot, slightly less evil clone SP, MT Mecha, Gob, Charles the Green Dragon, Botan, here to remind everyone that manatees are awesome, the RSI, Radiant Starlight, and OGreatGames.com. Once again, thank you all so much for your support. I cannot thank you enough, especially during these crazy times. But yeah, I want to go make some more videos for you guys, so I'm going to get straight to it, and I'll catch you all later. Toot toot, Sonic Warriors.